We start this episode with some bad news and hopefully a hooded crow.
Hi, I'm the Dutch birder, and 2025 is my 17th year of birding. This year I'm on a quest to document at least 250 different bird species. Join me on my quest through wetlands and forest of the small European country called the Netherlands.
This week I had to bring my car in for the periodic checkup, but it turns out the maintenance costs are too high to justify putting into this car. So sadly I have to look out for a new car. So today I've visited some cars and checked them, but my new car wasn't amongst them, sadly. So now I'm going home, but on my way home I drive by a spot where a rare hooded crow has been seen. So let's see if we can add that one to the list. Can't find it yet.
In the fields, many crows of different species were present, such as this carrion crow and a rook, along with good numbers of jackdaws. But it wasn't just crows in the field. Many smaller songbirds were also present, including a small group of European goldfinches.
So 3 species of crow on this field, but sadly no hooded crow. Now it has been reported at another spot a couple of days ago, so I'm gonna try that next. Funny was a group of woodlarks in the field. I heard them and then I saw them fly away. It's possibly my first January record for the Netherlands. They're not that rare in the winter, but they can be hard to find. So that was nice.
And then my action cam stopped working. In the end, I couldn't find the hooded crow either, but in hindsight it didn't matter, as it turned out to be a hybrid after all. More information about that has already been shared in the rarity updates. A few days later, I decided to go out in search of forest birds.
It's very quiet at the moment. I've only heard some carrion crows and I saw a woodcock fly by, but it was too far away so I couldn't film it sadly. Let's hope we find some forest species like some nice woodpeckers or hopefully a willow tit or a marsh tit. Would be nice. I'm hearing some very distant crossbills and a raven, but they're both way too far away to see them, sadly. And I'm now checking this area for great grey shrike because I have seen it here in the past and it has been reported here this winter. But it covers a large area, so it could be somewhere else.
This year, the great grey shrike has been reported in many different places and across a large area. 2 years ago, it was almost always present in this area, but this time it wasn't that easy. So I scanned for about 5 minutes and then called it a day. Filming birds in the forest is one of the most challenging things. Birds are either very high up, forcing you to film at an angle, or they're hidden behind countless branches, making it difficult to get a clear shot. The best way to capture good footage is by sitting in a photography hide, but I personally prefer to wander around. The forest was fairly quiet. A typical winter phenomenon is that forest birds move in flocks. This means long periods of silence, interrupted by the occasional mixed groups of sometimes dozens of tits of different species. Here I heard a goldcrest calling and positioned myself in the hope of filming it. Unfortunately, this goldcrest remained well hidden in the undergrowth. Luckily, it call attracted more birds, including another goldcrest that did show itself on camera. Finally, a new species for the challenge. The group also contained several long-tailed tits, not new for the challenge, but still a beautiful bird that, due to its restless nature, is always difficult to capture in a long shot. A little later, I also heard a crested tit, a stunning bird, but unfortunately high up in the pines, where there was hardly any light. Still, I managed to get a recognizable shot, so this one also made it onto the year list. And that wasn't all, because the flock also contained the short-toed tree creeper.
Added gold crest and crested tit to the year list, so that's cool. And I also heard some crossbills flying overhead again. I also saw them, but I couldn't film them. But they flew in the direction I was heading anyway for the great grey shrike. So let's hope we pick them up here.
After a second failed attempt at finding the great grey shrike, I headed back into the forest. I still hadn't filmed the woodpecker and also needed to find willow tit, marsh tit and coal tit. Luckily, I soon heard a small group of marsh tits. Filming, however, proved difficult once again. I could hear them constantly, but I just couldn't spot them in the trees, and when I finally had one in view, it disappeared just as quickly. Of course, a grey tit had no problem showing itself. Fortunately, I later managed to capture one of the marsh tits just long enough to add it to the challenge. 2 more forest tits to go.
Just encountered a small flock with mainly marsh tits and also some gold crests and a short-toed tree creeper. So those are new for the year list. Sadly, couldn't find the crossbills anywhere, and also haven't seen the great grey shrike yet. But I saw a report of a hooded crow somewhere else, but it's not too far from home, so on our way back maybe we can pick that one up.
Next, I checked this water called the Ganzenpoel, a spot where parrot crossbills had come to drink during the past 2 winters. Unfortunately, it seems that they are no longer around this winter. On my way back to the car, I spotted 2 birds perched in a tree from a distance. They turned out to be stock doves.
I'm back at the car again. No crossbills, no great grey shrike yet, but I'm happy with the crested and the marsh tit. Now on to the hooded crow. I've arrived at the location where the hooded crow was seen, but there aren't any crows in the fields here. Typical.
Hoping that the hooded crow had been reported elsewhere, I checked waarneming.nl, where, to my shock, I saw that the bird had flown off eastward just half an hour before my arrival and had not been reported since. So the only option left was to search the entire area in the hope of finding the bird myself.
See one carrying crow flying here. Some field fares and a missile thrush. That is a new one for the year list. So let's get that film. Another carrion crow on the top of a tree.
After a while, I ran into another birder. He had missed the bird by just a few minutes as well, so we could share our frustrations. After a nice chat, it was time to head home to be on time for dinner.
Well, sadly, no hooded crow. I'm going home now, get something to eat.
On the way home, I saw a preening whooper swan fairly close to the road. With the low sun behind me, it made for a beautiful scene that had to be filmed. However, after a while, the swan started walking away from me, a sign that I was too close. So I quickly stopped filming and finally headed home.
So I'm currently on my way to the Hooded Crow with my bike, because I still don't have a car. My wife has a car, but she needed it today, so I have to do it by bike. But now I got 3 new species along the bike path in a ditch. A grey wagtail, a pipit. I think it's a meadow pipit, but I have to check it at home to make sure it's not a water pipit. And I also got a common stonechat. 3 new species, nice. Hopefully we'll also get that hooded crow today.
This grey wagtail was extremely shy. It took off when I was still more than 50 meters away. Fortunately, a few days later, I spotted the local grey wagtail from my home office perched on the neighbor's roof. And this time I had my camera ready to finally film this little rascal, which I had mentioned several times before. In the end, the pipit turned out, as I already suspected in the field, to be a meadow pipit.
Yes, I got the hooded crow. It first sat foraging here on the field between some carrion crows, and then when a small airplane came over, they flew up in a tree and I could get some additional shots.
Luckily, this hooded crow was not the hybrid from Vogel. This one had a truly light-colored neck and no dark markings on the undertail coverts. When I started bird watching in 2009, there was still a group of around 40 hooded crows in Lausmeer. By 2019, only 2 remained, one of which was unfortunately found dead that year. In 2020, just 1 overwintering bird was left, and after that, hooded crows disappeared from the area. Nowadays, only a handful appear across the country in winter.
Mission successful. I'm heading back home. I have to bike some 45 minutes. But I'm very happy with this, so that will be a great ride home.
Don't forget to subscribe, a like and a comment are appreciated, and I'll see you next time.